Here's why women in Japan are actually paying to stay in prison. See, Japan's elderly population is skyrocketing, and with it, a shocking trend. There has been a surge in elderly women committing crimes like shoplifting deliberately to get sent to prison because the loneliness on the outside is so severe. In fact, in the last 20 years, the number of elderly inmates has risen by almost 300%. See, because on the outside, these women often live alone with no family to visit them or financial support to rely on. One inmate interviewed said her 43-year-old son, who she was living with, once said to her, "I don't care when you die, I wish you'd just go away." But now she's behind bars, she has routine, people to speak with, meals, and even medical care. Rather than shouting at them, the guards go as far as changing their diapers, helping them bathe, eat, and even take their medication. One said it now feels more like an elderly home rather than a prison full of convicted criminals. There's some that even say they will pay 20 to 30,000 yen a month just to live there forever. And even though they eat their meals in a cell alone in silence, just knowing that others are around is enough.
Here are some of the dumbest crimes committed by children, except each time it gets dumber. A 12-year-old kid in Rockville, Maryland has admitted to police that he sent in at least 7 bomb threats to various schools in his area. And he said that he did it because he knew that he couldn't be charged for it. Which is true, because in Maryland, children under the age of 13 can only be charged for something that falls under a crime of violence. The kid was smart enough to know the law, but dumb enough to call in a bunch of bomb threats for some reason. The kid might actually have a bright future ahead of him. At a theme park in North Carolina, a 13-year-old boy climbed inside of a claw machine to steal one of the toys and got stuck. According to reports, he spent 17 minutes inside of it until someone was able to come pull him out, after which he was banned from the park for a year for attempted theft and being a dumbass. In North Carolina, a 6-year-old boy was arrested for picking flowers from a yard while waiting at a bus stop. The crazy part is he actually had to go to court for destruction of property. The kid's attorney was quoted saying the boy's attention span was so short she had to give him a picture to color during the trial. Thankfully, the case was dismissed, but this happened because North Carolina has one of the lowest minimum ages for criminal charges, and most recently it was just raised to 8 years old. My question is, who the hell is calling the cops on a 6-year-old?
Crazy things happening in the world right now. If the Chiefs defeat the Eagles in the Super Bowl, the Eagles' all-time record will be 666 wins and 666 losses. A judge annulled the marriage of a couple after the bride came to the court and said that she only participated in the wedding because she thought it was a social media prank. Another judge sentenced a woman for setting a home on fire with 3 other people in it using Takis tortilla chips. A bank robber was dazed and confused when his getaway bike was stolen. A Texas teenager was accused of using poison to end the life of a rival's competition show goat. A man in Cleveland was quoted saying he's tired of cars running into his house all the time after 3 have crashed in the last 10 years. A man in California was arrested after he told the officer he was the DUI instead of the DD. A woman was rescued after getting caught in an Italian cave for the 2nd time in 2 years. The EU fined the EU for breaking EU data protection law.
Fun facts you wouldn't believe are true. Godzilla is an actual citizen of Japan. Some species of jellyfish are actually immortal. The patent for a fire hydrant was destroyed in a fire. Outer space is only 62 miles away. You could drive there in an hour. If you flattened your lungs out, they would have about the same surface area as a tennis court. Saturn is the lightest planet. If there was a big enough body of water, it would float. An astronaut spacesuit runs about $12 million. The moon looks close, but you can actually fit every planet in the solar system between the Earth and the moon. In a lab here on Earth, scientists created a plasma that reached a temperature of 9.9 trillion degrees Fahrenheit. Over 50,000 people on Earth have alien abduction insurance policies.
Here are 3 ways to hack your body. Number 1, if your arms ever fall asleep, just shake your head like this and it will go away instantly. Number 2, if you ever have a stuffy nose, just hold your breath until you have to breathe again, and this will give you adrenaline, which will clear your sinuses. And number 3, if you ever have to really go to the bathroom but there's no place to go, Just scratch the back of your calf as hard as you can. This will actually stall your brain, making it that you forgot you ever had to go.
Facts that I wish I didn't know. When you die, the last thing to go is your hearing. So as all your other mortal sensations are leaving this world, the last thing you're ever going to experience are the sounds going on around you, which very well could be like your family members crying or cheering. By the year 2050, there's going to be more plastic in the ocean than fish. When pigs get a cold, like a cough, very often they will shoot their intestines out of their anus, and farmers have to, like, stuff it back.
Human body parts that are completely useless now. Number 1 is your external ear. Auricular muscles control the visible part of the ear, but humans have lost the ability to control this muscle. And other mammals can move their ears with these muscles in order to detect prey and localize sound. Next is wisdom teeth. About 85% of adults nowadays will have at least one wisdom tooth. Our ancestors used to have larger jaws, so wisdom teeth fit better, which is why we get ours removed now, and it was the answer for the need for chewing power that they needed. Next is body hair. Body hair was once required for warmth, and you can see we've lost a lot of it over time. We now have it in a reduced form. Next is your appendix. In plant-eating mammals, the appendix helps digest cellulose, and the appendix might not be completely useless. A recent study found that it helps aid in good gut bacteria. So let's say you have diarrhea and your intestines are flushed out, it provides good bacteria back to your gut after that.
This is the 5th scariest movie according to science. Paranormal Activity, released December 3rd, 2008. Before watching this movie, your beats per minute is around 62. While watching the movie though, it's bumped up to 85, making it a 15% difference in your beats per minute. A woman and a husband move into their dream home in San Diego. Unfortunately, since the woman could remember, she had felt like she had a weird paranormal presence around her that wasn't good. After the first couple nights of living in the new house and they can't sleep, the husband then sets up a camera in the bedroom, and the things they see, well, I guess you're just gonna have to watch the movie. The movie, as I said, is called Paranormal Activity, and it is supposedly the 5th scariest movie, according to science.
If you're celebrating Halloween, you need to know about this movie. This movie was so popular when I was a kid, but I realized a lot of people actually don't know about it. Trick or Treat is a 2007 horror movie that includes 5 different Halloween-themed horror stories. So I'm gonna explain all 5 of them. The first story, called Opening, is about Emma and her boyfriend Henry who go home on Halloween night. Emma blows out a jack-o'-lantern and starts tearing down all their Halloween decorations, not knowing that someone is watching her, and she's just made a terrible mistake. The second story, Principal, begins with Charlie stealing candy from his high school principal's house when trick-or-treating, but then he gets caught by the principal, who seems to be hiding a secret double life. The third story is probably the most well-known, called Halloween School Bus. A group of teens go to a flooded quarry, where one of them tells the group about the urban legend of the Halloween school bus. And in this urban legend, 8 disabled students were unalived by a school bus driver, because their parents all asked the school bus driver to get rid of them, as the parents were tired of taking care of them. Then we find out this might not be an urban legend after all. The fourth story, Surprise Party, is about a group of women who meet a hooded man dressed as a vampire. This story has a very interesting plot twist that you won't see coming. And the last story, Sam, is about the neighbor of the principal from the second story. And he hates Halloween. But as he walks out of his house, he realizes his entire lawn is full of jack-o'-lanterns. And there's mysterious messages written all over. In this story, it's finally revealed who this creepy pumpkin from the movie poster truly is. Follow for more.
Now, I'm sure we've all fallen asleep before and our arm went to sleep, right? And all you need to do to get rid of it is shake your head from left to right and it'll be gone instantly. Next, if you ever feel the urge to pee really bad but you can't find a restroom anywhere, start rubbing the back of your legs just like this. And in theory, it should just stop the urge instantly, because it'll force your brain to forget about it. And if you're ever enjoying a nice ice cream and you start getting brain freeze, try to warm up your thumb and put it in the roof of your mouth as flat as possible. Apparently, this will make your brain freeze go away instantly. And finally, if like many others you're having troubles falling asleep, try to blink your eyes super fast for 60 seconds, because it'll make your eyes tired, which will make it easier for you to fall asleep.
Psychological facts you need to know.
The people who spend a lot of time on the internet are mostly depressed or lonely. If you can't get someone off your mind, there is a 79% chance they feel the same way. Your body is weakest at 3 to 4 a.m. This is when most people die in their sleep. Smart people get quickly annoyed by others. People who are good in math are the people who are always complicated in relationships. The firstborn daughter is always the female version of her father. The nicest people always look mean at first. People who bite their nails are the smartest one. A girl's favorite song will tell you more about her feelings than her lips, voice ever will. Smiling too much is generally a sign of someone experiencing emotional pain.
Never go in the woods of southeast Oklahoma. On a foggy day in 1970, a group of high school kids are cruising the back roads of southeast Oklahoma. One of the boys had to pee, so they pulled over. He got out of the truck, walked about 50 yards into the woods so that he couldn't be seen. He heard a tree snap, looked up, and he's staring in the eyes of a creature 3 foot taller than any man. It had matted hair, red eyes, and blood dripping off of its chin. The boys ran as fast as they could back to the truck, yelling, "Start the truck, start the truck." But what happens next is terrifying. The boys go to the sheriff's department, and when the deputy goes out to investigate, all he sees is animal carcasses everywhere, and the legend of the Green Hill Monster was born.
Giants are real, and I'm gonna show you exactly why. It's always the guy with the backwards baseball cap talking about this goofy shit. How's it going? My name's Vinny Santoro. I got a bachelor's of business from UMass Lowell. I like your chain though, dude. No hard feelings. I know a paisan when I see one. I just gotta give you a hard time. Everything grew a lot bigger because of oxygen levels. You should start teaching critical thinking at UMass Lowell. The time when there was more oxygen was like 200 million years ago, and the only thing that got bigger was insects. If this was a tree, the branches would be in like the goddamn troposphere. Does that make any sense? We read about them everywhere. They're in the Bible. Right, but wait till you hear this. This book is called The Phantom Toll Booth, and in it there's a dog with a clock in it. Liberal media wants you to think this doesn't exist, but it literally says it right there in the book. The Smithsonian, they had their fingers in all of these reports. I love how many conspiracy theorists cite the whole Smithsonian destroyed giant skeletons claim literally originated in 2014 on a satire website. It was literally like The Onion. So you'll get these videos of these conspiracy theorists who are like, yeah, I have my third eye open, I read between the lines, and their source is like fucking Clickhole.
This creepy painting is actually some sort of evil apparition. Let's talk about the Rat Queen from the Layers of Fear remake. And of course, spoilers ahead. The Rat Queen also exists in the original versions of Layers of Fear 1 and 2, but we're going to be focusing on the remake. The Rat Queen appears mostly as a painting in the stories of the painter from Layers of Fear 1 and the actor from Layers of Fear 2. She seems like a malevolent force that rats are drawn to, but it's unclear as to what her intentions are. What's really happening is that in the remake, the writer is writing the stories of the painter and the actor. For those of you not familiar with the series, these are character names. At the beginning of the writer's time living in the lighthouse, she unknowingly enters a pact with the painting of the Rat Queen. And part of that pact is the Rat Queen helping her turn those stories into successful books. However, this comes at a cost, and the writer ended up losing her son as a result of the pact. She returned to the lighthouse to burn the Rat Queen painting, but was met with a surprise. The physical form of the Rat Queen appeared and locked her in the lighthouse forever.
People are freaking out trying to get the new Lamborghini profile icon, but everyone's getting scammed trying to do it. Over the last few months there's been loads of profile icons coming out, and now you may have seen this new McLaren one going about. Quite cool, especially compared to some of the other ones we've had, but no one actually knows how to get it. A lot of people were saying that if you just type McLaren in the comment section, it comes up and gives it to you, but it definitely doesn't. So what is the actual way to do it? Well, I'll tell you right now. First of all, you've got to go over to Tate McRae's page. Who, if you don't know, is this person right here. Click on her profile picture and it will come up with this, and you press Get Frame. After that, it will take you to this page, which comes up with her new release and loads of stuff. Where then, similar to the Squid Game one, you have to take part in a few challenges, complete these things before you can get it. Such as following her, posting a video to the song, and also putting that in the hashtags of the video. Once your video is done, set to public and posted, after you've done this and the video is posted, the frame should just pop up on your page. If it doesn't, just click on your profile picture, go to frames where you can see all of yours and select this one, and there you go.
Scariest things ever found in the woods. A biker was in a Colorado forest when he found a metal wire tied across 2 trees. Soon more bikers began reporting the same thing. Someone had even lost their lives to one of these wires. It seems someone wants to harm bikers for some reason. Police have been looking into this but so far have not found whoever's doing it. In December 2014, a man heard screaming coming from the woods behind his house. You can hear a girl screaming "Daddy" and an adult voice saying, "Where are you?" The man who heard this said he checked the news every day, but heard nothing about the incident on the news. Some people commented on this, saying it may have been a setup for a kidnapping, but really, we don't know. One day, a Forest Service officer was doing a routine patrol of a trail in Utah. That's when he noticed a tripwire tied between 2 trees. He followed the wire, and it led him to this. A ball made of rocks and sharpened sticks, which was set to fall when the tripwire was hit. That was bad enough, but he soon found another trap on the same trail. A tripwire pulled tight, which would cause people to fall into a bed of sharpened sticks. Police began investigating this, which led them to 2 men, Benjamin Rodkowski and Kai Christensen. They claimed the traps had been set for animals, but the police did not believe this. The 2 men were later sentenced to 30 days in jail.
Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer too. I'm half crazy, all for the love of you.
Here are 6 facts that sound completely fake but are 100% true. I can pretty much guarantee you one of these will be the coolest thing you've heard all day. Firstly, Picasso was alive at the same time as Eminem and Charles Darwin. Let that sink in for a second. What? Stonehenge was a tourist attraction for ancient Romans. The can opener wasn't invented until 48 years after the can. I mean, what? I imagine a lot of you enjoy eating oysters. I absolutely fucking do not. So might you after this fact. I'm so sorry. Oysters are always served to you alive. They only die when they go down your gullet. I mean, that's just... What? If you shuffle a deck of cards, it is statistically likely that you've shuffled them in an order that has never existed before and will never exist again. Essentially, you were the first person in history to shuffle them in that exact sequence. Oh, and while we're on the topic of just what the fuck, there are more ways to play a game of chess than there are atoms in the observable universe. And if you type this into the comments, you unlock a secret TikTok emoji. Okay, that's enough whining for the day. Everyone with me?
Let's talk about a disturbing horror game that left me with more questions than answers. I Live Under Your House. Full game playthrough on my channel. This entire game is an enigma. You play as an unnamed creature that we never get to see. The only thing we know about your character is that they live underground beneath modern human civilization. You don't like leaving your tunnels, you don't want to go to the surface. But in this game, you have to. Loud construction work occurring directly above you causes you to investigate the surface, and you end up coming face to face with the human couple. The main hook of the gameplay is the amazing art style and trying to figure out what exactly you are. And the ending of this game, as well as its DLC, were certainly not what I expected.
This is genuinely one of the most disturbing videos I have ever seen. It is the final footage that was found of a man who got lost in the Paris catacombs. In the 90s, a group of explorers were going through the catacombs of Paris and they were getting pretty deep in there when they found a camera that was just abandoned. And upon reviewing the footage, they realized that it was from a man who was exploring down there, but he got lost. Watching the footage is incredibly chilling because he's picking up bones and skulls while he's exploring, but there's a point where either he hears something or he sees something and he begins running. He's running frantically and you can hear his breath getting louder and louder and louder. There's points where he doesn't know which way to turn, and finally, as he's running, he drops the camera. Based off of the paintings that people were able to see in the footage and the testimony of the people who found the camera, this man was insanely deep underground in the catacombs. He was really far into the uncharted sections. And you may have heard of the film As Above, So Below, the movie that was actually inspired by this footage. As Above, So Below is a found footage horror movie about a group of people going into the Paris catacombs trying to find a hidden chamber to find the Philosopher's Stone, the secret to eternal life, but they actually end up going into the layers of hell. And the creators of this film saw this found footage from the 90s and it inspired them to make their own movie. So As Above, So Below is based on a true story. I'm doing a whole episode over on my pod Frightful Fandom talking about the history of the catacombs, what they were used for, this very unfortunate true life case, and of course, As Above, So Below.
Here are 10 creepy, disturbing, and scary facts you didn't know. Part 2. Today's high school students have the same anxiety levels as insane asylum patients had in the 1950s. Until 1974, it was illegal to appear in public in the city of Chicago if you were ugly. During the early 1990s, a serial killer named Joseph Metheny owned a burger stand located in Baltimore, Maryland. After his arrest in 1996, he confessed to feeding his customers the flesh of at least 3 humans he had murdered. A new homeowner was shocked to find a rag doll boarded up in a wall cavity, clutching a note saying she killed a family. In 1977, we received a radio signal from space that lasted 42 seconds. To this day, we still don't know where that signal came from. The movie The Hills Have Eyes was based on the true story of the Bean Clan, a Scottish family who would secretly ambush, kill, and eat travelers for 25 years. In 1957, 2 sisters, Joanna and Jacqueline Pollock, were killed in a tragic car accident. A year later, their mother gave birth to twins, Jennifer and Jillian. Then it gets weird. Jennifer, the younger twin, had scars and birthmarks on her body that were identical to Jacqueline's, the deceased younger sister. The twins began to ask for toys that had belonged to the deceased girl, toys they had no knowledge of. Albert Fish, an American serial killer, boasted that he killed in every state and claimed to have had over 100 victims. What makes him even more sickening is that he sent letters to his victims' parents to tell them how good their children tasted. A man named Francesco Lentini had 3 legs, 4 feet, 16 toes, and 2 sets of functioning male genitals. He worked for a circus and lived until the age of 78. In 2011, Anatoly Yurovich was arrested after 12 dolls were found in his apartment. However, they weren't regular dolls. They were recently deceased little girls that he had dug up, dressed up, and displayed. Like for part 3,